And welcome to the Independent Investor Channel live here on a Friday night here, day after Thanksgiving. It is Black Friday. Happy Thanksgiving to all the patrons to the channel. What a dynamic year it's been. Summarize the activity from this year. It's been a challenge nonetheless, spurring back into last year and even the year before. It certainly had its share of challenges with the interest rate rise. That's seemingly looking to subside a little bit. Seeing a little bit of life in the small cap market. Looking at 2024, it's anybody's guess here whether or not we're going to enter into somewhat of a soft landing scenario, whether or not 2024 is going to continue to be that rebound from 2020, the shot heard around the world for all investors. I want to summarize in this live stream some very, very important attributes of how to invest in volatile markets. We're going to talk about some of the strategies that I deploy like I typically do. I want to welcome all the subscribers to the message and invite anyone that's new to the message to subscribe to the channel. That subscription is free of charge. I will send you a bill shortly after you hit the button, so fear not. It is probably one of the greatest value propositions on social media for anybody out there that's looking for a different angle to financial markets. There's no doubt about it that you can catch the current on this topic and be misled downriver on this topic. There's no doubt in my mind. And I do not envy new investors who are looking to circumnavigate this landscape and try to make any sense in building wealth for yourself and your families. There's going to be things that I say that are contrary to the status quo. I'm not one of those believers in sticking your head in the sand for the greater part of the 40 years that your investing time horizon will allot for you. A lot of people out there are provided a significantly larger time frame than that, maybe 50 years plus. The idea here is to devote to a plan, really give yourself the best shot of achieving that financial security over time, and doing so with a level of devotion that allows you the best chance of success on the back end. In other words, if you're going to invest, you might as well do it right. And I think if you are unwilling to acknowledge what it is that goes into right investing, then I would just rather see you not invest at all. It's not worth the heartache. It's not worth the swings. It's not worth the volatility. It's not worth the mental deliberation that you'll have to go through or incur, even on a day-to-day basis, to stay devoted to financial markets over the long term. However, for those people who really look at this thing diplomatically, I think we are in a time now where getting ahead is becoming more difficult. And I think that the new generation, albeit and as aggressive as they are in believing that all you have to do is just wake up and trip and fall into a social media millionaire status overnight. I think that a lot of the younger generation are setting up for some real disappointment in a rude awakening in understanding that hard work is absolutely imperative in this gig. If you're pursuing wealth with an idea that somehow you are going to put out a product that is going to just woe the world with your vast knowledge on a specific topic, I would caution you to realize the commitment that it takes for social media. I think it's super, super important to understand the importance of finding your passion. And if that just so happens to be social media, I just so happen to be very, very intimate with my job. I love it. It's part of my secret sauce and pedigree. I openly admit that online. I would wish that upon anybody out there, to find that true baseline in your life to help augment that surplus capital that we're looking to identify in the budget. But I think a holistic approach to spending discipline, to savings discipline, to earning discipline, to credit discipline, to contribution discipline is imperative. My program is very, very simple. I call it a program. I even hate to quantify it in that manner, because the language that I use on the Independent Investor channel is equal and open to all people. You don't have to pay $199 to associate yourself with my proprietary answers to what I feel like you can seek out and, more importantly, find on your own. It's free of charge. Okay, the concepts that we talk about are more psychological, and more along the lines of, if you picked up 5 things from my message tonight, I can almost bottom line guarantee you that those 5 things will cost you nothing. Well, what's in it for you, Ryan? What's in it for you? Well, that's just what makes the message very, very unique. I've started projects online in the social media camp. I do run a website. All of those links are provided. I don't have the time necessary to do daily uploads on YouTube right now. I'm absolutely chucker blocked full of work obligations, that of which up until last week, I was able to fly out to the great Northwest to engage. I got to meet one of my favorite followers to the channel. Has been following the channel for a long, long time, and Mr. Dave, and it was awesome to meet up with somebody in person. Just a great treat. Turned me on to an initiative that I'm working right now. I had Junior Stock Investor kick on behind the scenes with me just right before going live tonight, and kind of double down on this initiative that I have to transfer assets from Bank of America to Fidelity. For you guys that may think that that's just an easy feat, I'm uprooting about 19 accounts, all different shapes, sizes, varieties, multiple brokerage accounts, 2 Roth IRAs, a couple of business accounts, a couple of 529s, a couple of UTMAs, et cetera, right on down the line, savings, checking, boom, boom, all the way down the line, a SEP IRA. So it's quite an upheaval. However, when I look at the numbers, the qualifiable benefit that I get, Bank of America pays an interest of 0.01. And unbeknownst to me, honestly, flew right under my nose, because I put more value in my association and my relationship with B of A based on the time that I have with them. Unfortunately, the straw that broke that camel's back was seeing that the interest paid out now on idle cash, even in the default fund from Fidelity, is 499. That is too much to overcome when the national average for savings accounts sits at about 0.47%. So you're talking about 10 times the national average there, and you're talking about kind of a middle finger, really, to retail investors, or anybody who may put value in the brick and mortar locations that a Bank of America or Wells Fargo can provide to you. But I prefer online banking anyway. As a matter of fact, I despise going into the local branch and would just rather do away with that. So Dave turned me on to that. Kind of showed me some actual screenshots, which really opened my eyes. And I'm not so set in my ways that I cannot be changed and fear uprooting. And that's what we're in the process to do. So within the first 10 minutes, I give you kind of my spin on one of the very important things that you need to look at if you're going to become involved in this game, is what account is going to suit your needs. And there's a lot out there that can do that, but it's important to do so. And I think that I can't patronize people when I come on to YouTube, social media, and expect that people don't have the wherewithal to research with a little bit of wherewithal on what they're looking for, with a little bit of help and encouragement on where to look. Look, I don't care if it's Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab. I've kind of fallen off the radar with recommending those larger institutions, because I just don't think that they have the individual investor in mind. I mean, I kind of take it like a middle finger, to be honest. Their Fidelity money market over $1 million pays 5.3. So actually, it's really awesome. Mithridate shares that. You go to fidelity.com. And you can find it. It's a little bit hidden on their website, but you can actually find the listing. I believe there's 31 specific money market accounts on there. And like he's saying, there's certain thresholds of wealth that need to be achieved within each of those respective accounts to earn that. But I'll take 499 all day. That's incredible. Shoot, I'd be happy with one, let alone four times that amount. So, five times that amount, especially with what's going on right now. It almost seems like the prime interest rate went up and Bank of America said, to hell with everybody. Here's my middle finger. We're just going to rake all that in and take it all. We're not going to pay that out, which I'm not really sure how that's legal. But anyway, that's in the cards for sure. But I'm appreciative of all you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. I really want to get into this lesson. I've got some really cool stuff to update you guys on. We've got 60 minutes. This is the fastest live stream, fastest show on YouTube. That's for sure. But I want to welcome each and every one of you guys to the program. Take a short break and be back with you in just a moment. Crown Royal. Fantastic. It's an all aspects approach. It's a AAA, something for you to kind of remember when we look at the importance of selecting the account. I want you guys to understand that all of the ideas that we throw out there on the Independent Investor channel are yours to either use, not use in a large or small capacity, but everything is certainly tailored to what it is that you need in where you are in your life. Look, you can go sit down with a financial planner and they can get your social security number and they can ask how old you are and what your target date for retirement is. Why don't we stop patronizing people and just move on and make financial discipline and financial conversation more commonplace? I'll let you chew on that for a bit. It really gets me thinking about why this is such a topic that is uncomfortable for a lot of people to discuss. I'm not perfect. I spend money just like the rest. I try to deploy some spending discipline. I make mistakes, no doubt about that, and so do you. But if you think somehow that you're going to be provided a strategic edge, or somehow you're going to make less mistakes, or somehow be more informed than the next investor by paying that premium to introduce a middleman in between you and the financial markets, you are sorely mistaken. You are sorely mistaken. You'd be better off spending a couple of dollars on a few investing books, getting a little bit of savvy and understanding that the all aspects approach that I talk about can only really be deployed by you. Okay. A financial coach can only bring you so far, but at the end of the day, this has to be you that deploys these ideas about choosing the appropriate account for you, or deploying some of the fundamental approaches that I talk about: dollar cost averaging, infusing a little bit of capital per month to a program, twice a month, once a week, whatever it is that's comfortable for you. All of these strategies, right? You're like, okay, time out, Ryan. What's all this going to cost me? And I'm telling you, man, all of these are more fundamental approaches, but I'm telling you, man, they absolutely work. I went back on the accounts that I used to review for you guys. Just amazing how time is the critical ingredient to infuse into your respective accounts. And when we're talking about the approach through diversification, we're talking about the approach through dividends. I really want you guys to consider those as being the critical pillars of wealth building. And when you say, well, Ryan, I can tune into 500 other YouTube channels and listen to them talk about getting rich overnight or investing long term. And that's right. That's right. I think there's a ton of people out there now that are discussing. I've seen a few topics or titles on YouTube that I'm like, wow, really? I've released that previously. I've moved away from watching any other YouTube channels altogether because it's so cutthroat. I've got a few even of my sponsored channels that sometimes I kind of look at and I'm like, Jesus, are they talking about me? At 30,000 subscribers, I'm pretty happy with the project that we've built in the short term. I know the project will grow over time because I'll lean on all of those people over the long term. Now, as of late, you guys understand that the frequency of the channel has been fairly light, and you're going to have to give me a pass on that. We still are pretty consistent with the Friday live stream. If I'm out of pocket like I was last week, then there's nothing I can do about that. But the consistent product that we put forward on the Friday live stream is absolutely worth enough to earn your subscription. Like I said, I'll send you a bill as soon as you hit that subscribe button. All right. No, I'm just kidding. What would it be that would set the independent investor channel apart in what you can glean as far as useful information? Let me tell you a little bit about my perspective. Okay. It was awesome being in the Northwest. I felt like I was home, breathing some clean air for the first time in a while. I come from fairly humble beginnings. I do not come from any type of infusion or start. I was not gifted any type of head start on life. As a matter of fact, I found myself starting out in the negative when I first started out. So, my perspective of money is one that I can share openly in that I truly do understand the value of money, number one. Number two, the opportunity that we are provided, especially here in the United States of America. That's where I'm domiciled. That's where we roll. I can cross compare sometimes what I notice about the opportunity that is made in more suburban and country, and the opportunities that I have being in one of the most powerful cities in the United States. This place is bleeding money. So there are opportunities here if you're willing to put up with the constant craze of the bottleneck effect here in this great city of New York City. But nonetheless, I'm looking to exploit the opportunity and really take advantage of it. But something that I harp on the channel and I share openly, and it's an idea that I don't really feel like is shared in the mainstream, and I hope I'm wrong in that people can come into YouTube and consume some content and get some motivation to build wealth. And I think the funniest thing that I think I've only heard myself talk about is thresholds of wealth. It's something that if you just look at most people when they say, well, I'd like to be a millionaire, and the sheer fact of the matter is that very, very few people will reach that seven-figure milestone in their life. Why is that? I presume that those folks, it's very easy to say, very, very difficult to do if your goal in and of itself is to pursue $1 million. Okay. And even more commonplace is to challenge that idea of pursuing that $1 million with the idea that you have to achieve your first, let's say, $1,000 first. Okay. On the Independent Investor channel, I've always talked about the importance of pursuing and achieving that first $10,000 of invested capital. I really think anybody can save themselves up to that first, second, and third and fourth investing threshold, those being defined as $500, $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, and then inevitably move to the $10,000 threshold. It goes up from there, 25,000, 50,000, 100, quarter million, 500, and eventually a million. There's 11 total thresholds of wealth. Count them. Okay. Oh, you're wrong, Ryan. No, I'm not. I live, breathe, and eat this stuff, and it helps new investors kind of break this down and put themselves on a little bit of a continuum. So if your first time picking up the channel or the title catches your attention and you come to the independent and you kind of get a little bit involved with my conversation, it may challenge you a little bit to understand, gosh, Ryan's talking about the first $1,000 of invested capital. I don't have that yet. I'm going to break it to you. For most new investors, most everybody did not have that when they started, and they achieved it and they surpassed that amount if they stuck with it and they were serious about wealth building. Okay. And I want to share with you now, over the last 5 years, when I first started YouTube in general, I had about $80,000 of net worth. That's about 5x since then. Okay. And I want to make sure that you truly understand, in about 6 short years of doing YouTube and sharing wealth building with folks, what we're looking at. So I've kind of set a framework for you guys. And I set individual goals for people to suggest that, look, if you've got a couple $100 in savings, you really want to get started in investing, your wheelhouse is to achieve your first $500 of invested wealth. And I think that's great. You know, on the dollar cost average side of the house, I share openly that I started with $25, contributing that wealth every month. That's it. When I got my first solid job, I started contributing about $50 a month, and it's went up since then. I have my good friend who's been a subscriber to the channel for a long, long time. And Chris offered, Ryan, did you finish your 2023 contributions? And my response, I broke down for Chris in this manner here, and I'll explain it now. The 13,000, 6,500 times two went into each of the individual Roths, as well as the 25% of my total overall pay, which gets me against the 22.5 cap that I am currently not meeting, but that's also Roth TSP contributions there. So 28,000 total of contributions in 2023. That's what a small fry like myself can afford. Even again, coming from humble beginnings, that I think a lot of people can actually relate with when they come into the channel, and you're like, Jesus, this guy's interesting, man. He talks like a normal freaking person. I don't yell at you. I don't scream at you. I'm not trying to earn your subscription. I'm just kidding about the charge. Hell, if you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to. You can piss off for all I care. Because again, the value of this information is very, very real, and very, very prudent when we start to look at the performance of my particular net worth over the last 6 or 7 years or so. Now, mind you, I will share that the accelerated wealth really started to happen when I started to self-direct my own accounts. Jim Cramer is using language that I think he got right off of the Independent Investor channel. Now, I'm not so pompous that I would expect that a big figure like Jim Cramer would take words like empowerment, which came from the Independent Investor channel, and discussing things like he can make a better investor out of you. These are concepts that these were invented by me. I was one of the first self-directed investors, I presume, in this country about 10 years ago. Um, and I know this because the accounts that were available from some of the major brokers would still charge around 1%, and a lot of beta programs were available, but not quite all the way to what we enjoy now. And that's fairly in line across all brokers with investing for free. Okay. Your access to the market is right there. So we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. All we have to do is focusing on moving people through financial thresholds. And I speak as if you can do it, not as if like you're going to embark on this journey and maybe make it, or like there's a fairly good chance that you'll fail. All that's garbage. You actually have a fairly good chance of succeeding, if not, albeit just guaranteed, if you follow and start to really deploy all of these tools that we know, okay, and avoid some of the pitfalls that we will talk about. All right. So when we talk about the account thresholds, I just saw Blood Phantom pop in. Really cool stuff, man. It's kind of cool for some of these old school and Mr. Dividend investors right below. That's really cool. It's kind of funny how the holidays bring some people around, man. And it's an open door policy on the channel. I've always contended that this channel is really made up of the community that frequents the channel, and that's it. I'm really just here to kind of facilitate the business, and hell, I'd make you one if you were with me anyway. So the people who have met me all know that. That's for sure. All right, so let's start at the top here. 3 accounts above 100 grand. Okay, so you think about that. You think, okay, well, this guy's either bullshitting at me, um, which there's a lot of that going on social media, or he's telling the truth. Look, I have no reason to lie to you. 3 accounts right now that have met the $100,000 threshold. Now, collectively, we want to move those $100,000 accounts to the $250,000 account mark, right? So we can collectively meet that $1 million mark. All right. So you notice here the idea that we embark on this journey, maybe with one account. All right. And we embark on that journey to grow wealth. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't just grow wealth independently for yourself, but I have a spouse in the scenario. So we look to build that wealth together. So everybody's scenario is a little bit different. Maybe you've got kids. Part of this wealth that I'm going to declare to you are gifts to my kids because, quite frankly, I enjoy investing for them more than I do myself. It'll all go to them as declared in the thread here, along the lines of passing a legacy on to my kids, and really, as long as I can pursue my goal of financial security, I'm happy. Okay. But three accounts above 100,000. I have currently one account above 50,000. Okay. So that's four accounts. I currently have four accounts total over 25,000. Okay. So that breakdown is the three accounts are all individual Roths. Okay. One Roth TSP and two individual Roths. So on the high end of the $100,000 breakdown, now I'm not going to get into the specific holdings of each of those accounts. I will just declare to you this. The majority of it is comprised in a dividend ETF, VIG, the S&P 500, VOO, and in the TSP, it's the C fund, which is the comparable to the S&P 500. It's an index fund, yada, yada. Okay. But you see the theme there across the low cost ETF index fund range. And then you've got really the Magnificent Seven and some dividends spackled in there for the three accounts, totaling up over $300,000 of wealth, most of it tied up in passive. The real takeaway there is that it's tied up in tax protected dollars, achieving that wealth over time. Okay. Now, the four accounts above the 25 is comprised of the M1 Finance. I share that openly through the channel. The business account, M1 Finance, and then the savings account that sits at about 32,000. We've made a concerted effort in 2023 to actually allocate a little bit more money to the savings route. That's just another bucket that you guys can look at and say, God, I don't know, the market's been kind of on fire. I want to still continue to contribute, but Ryan mentioned maybe the potential of adding some to cash. When I switch over to Fidelity, you guys don't think that that incentive is going to be there, earning 499 on my money, right? So there's going to be a lot more incentive there. I look at the opportunity of cash, right? So I have that capital put aside. Right now it sits at about 32,000. We're going to continue to grow that because we have goals of having a nice down payment available when and if this real estate market comes down into the stratosphere and not reside outside the stratosphere. But we're continuing to monitor that. We'll live to fight another day. Two accounts above 10,000. One of them comprised in a 529. And then three accounts above 5,000, a 401k, the other M1 Finance account, which is dividend account number 2. I share that openly. And then the additional 529, right? So if you count up these accounts, you're talking about 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 13 accounts, 5, 9, 10, 13 total accounts that are at different investing thresholds. 13. When I talk about the level of wealth over 10,000, you're talking about 10, 4, 6, 10 accounts. The vast majority of people, I would presume, and I don't have a good command on the statistics, but things that I have heard, and I heard these statistics a long, long time, is that of all the Mercedes and BMWs and white picket fences and people who are up to their neck, if not drowning in mortgage debt or credit card debt or a combination of both, when the dust settles on people and the reality of that, which I think is why a lot of people are quite frankly embarrassed of their finances. Hell, I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud of this shit. They're embarrassed to the facts that they are in debt. And I would go so far as to challenge the idea that if you are in that camp of having over $10,000 of invested wealth in the market, maybe you are not in that camp. Perhaps maybe you are not in that camp and you earn six figures. Perhaps maybe it's time to reevaluate your program and understand the power of somebody who comes like the dirt like myself, right? I grew up bucking hay and chopping wood, skinny dipping in the pond. If somebody like myself can put those three things together and actually accumulate wealth to the tune of 500,000, $500,000 and growing, all I need is a conducive market to jump me up, and I'll slowly be reporting out that I'll be at that seven-figure mark. Whether or not I make it in this life or not really is not something that I aspire to anymore. Okay. My aspiration is such to grow each of these individual buckets to meeting their next financial thresholds. So for you guys, the real takeaway is to look at that wealth and get it to the next financial threshold, and give yourself a little credit when you meet those thresholds. And you might come to me and say, "Well, Ryan, does it take a lifetime to get 25,000 in an investing account?" I will declare to you this: it has taken 12 years for one of those accounts, one specifically on the top end that is a $100,000 account. I started it with the goal of having 100 grand in that account by the time I retired. I'm there now. 12 years after the fact, 2011, I started investing in this account. It was an opportunity to take surplus capital from the earned dollars that I make every single day. I started at 2%, my friends, 2. And I've declared to you tonight that I have indeed upped that to 25%. And that account is at the 100,000. So the question becomes, over the next 12 years of my working time frame and the decisions that I make and the amount of surplus capital that I'm able to push in, how much could we actually look at putting away in that account? My new threshold has been pushed to 250. And I think that's fairly conservative, to be honest with you, that if in 12 years I've been able to get up to this amount, it's hard pressed to suggest. I mean, I'm up today, right now, I checked 17.29% on the S&P 500 in the TSP this year. Now, mind you, I was buying the market through all the turmoil and craziness. Um, it's hard to do. I admitted to junior stock investor who said hi in the thread here that I was becoming a little bit fatigued. It feels like you're throwing money into a vacuum, right? When the market has been as cranky as it is. But with that said, I've been through this before, and the discipline each and every time has taught me that eventually it freaking pays off, and it pays off in a silly, stupid way where you sit back and you're like, God damn, shit. So as crazy as it is to the markets are crazy, and even the independent investor channel's down, or even he feels fatigued to put content out there because the market's so crazy. Nobody wants to talk about the stock market when it's down anyway, right? It's that euphoric state that we transfer into when those investments during hard times that very, very few people are willing to put up there really pay off in spades. And a lot of the wealth that I've declared to you guys is pretty crazy. I was checking some of the accounts that I used to share on the banners, and I'm up in every single one of them. We're up pretty significantly just funding those accounts that were clean, not subject to movement, were funded fairly frequently, and we're just allowed to grow and pay dividends over time, really just adhering to the tried and true fundamentals of investing, DCA diversification, and seeking some dividend renderings. In this particular case, I've grown this wealth without really given any payment on idle cash. So I think it's really going to help accelerate the bottom line for me when I do effectively make this transition over to Fidelity. And I'm excited for the prospects of starting with a little more of a program that actually has my best interest in line a little bit more. The transfers took very little time, and they've earmarked November 30th for the transfers to take place. So I'll report out on that as appropriate when we get everything settled, and the dust, does end up settling on those accounts. There'll be a little bit of extra work that's involved with switching, especially the 529s. Those are a pain in the ass to switch over. The cash accounts, that's jamming me up a little bit. I've got to set up a direct transfer on that. The accounts, like in kind, should transfer with no problems, but stand by for rolls. It's not easy to effectively uproot, and that's where my hesitation was for many years. But like I said, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Some of the tools that you want to look at once you get that account established, start looking at these financial thresholds and goals to approach. Then you can start to deploy some of the tools that we talk about, and that's ETF index funds, dividend stocks, some of the growth stocks. I've placed NVIDIA, Salesforce.com into the portfolio, Amazon. I own a big position now in Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple. Really, the magnificent seven. Out of that, I don't really see the bullish thesis, and I could be wrong on Netflix and or Tesla. I don't own outright right now, but those other ones I do. So those are some of the tools that are actually placed now into the Roth. The strategy for you guys to keep in mind is to adhere to and acknowledge those financial thresholds. Move away from the mentality of becoming a millionaire over the course of your life, because if you're unwilling to put the tools and the strategies in place to earn that first, let's say $10,000. I don't want to patronize this group, because anybody coming into this and subjecting themselves to my banter for 60 minutes is truly interested in wealth building. Okay. Whereas I think a lot of people, they want to sit back, they want to tune in, and they want to slouch back on the couch with a bag of Fritos or Cheetos, either one, and drink a big Coke and expect me to make them a millionaire overnight. That's just not going to happen. The things that I'm posing out there are strategies that you can actually deploy, and things that are actually critical to your wealth building strategy. Ignore the market swings. I tell you what, guys, there's so much propaganda out there that would misconstrue what it is that you're trying to do, or make you think that now that the market's run up a little bit, that somehow you need to exit the market. The market will run up another 10, 20% when you do that. And you're severely going to impact your long-term capital gains, as well as your long-term earnings potential over your money, if you try to go in and out of the market. Okay, it's really important for you to understand that. Save cash as a buffer. We talked about that. That's just another strategy. Look, man, if you're very conservative, take 25% of the surplus capital, award it or allocate it to an investing strategy. If you like the idea of saving to capital, which I do, then you can kind of do both and say, yeah, Ryan's right. I think there's probably more chance of me ending up with some financial wealth someday with the compliments of investing, as opposed to try to go about this and save myself to a millionaire status. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but man alive, I look at the accounts of a $10,000 bill here, 20,000 of appreciation over time. I go back and I look at the wealth over the last 6 years, and I don't know where the capital appreciation has gone. Now, a good bulk of that has been contribution. A good bulk of it has been capital appreciation, and a good bulk of that has been dividends rendered. Look, it's all for naught if you decide that you're just going to not invest for whatever reasons you come up with. Okay. Um, if you start to kind of look at this and remove the word investing, or remove all of the terms that go along with financial knowledge, and just look at this as being a participant in financial markets. I often pose this idea of investing in Apple, and people kind of get the light bulb above their head, and they look at Apple differently. They look about it differently than the store in the mall that always has a line at it out of it, and you wonder why. You know, I mean, I walk by these companies and I'm like, I'm glad I own it. Amazon right now with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I'm glad I own it. Amazon's a good buy right now, trading at a very reasonable valuation. Google making money hand over fist. Meta doing some advanced things. Microsoft with AI. The list goes on and on. Nvidia with their chip, and there's so many cool opportunities. And I think once you start to prove to yourself that becoming a participant in the capacity that you define, wonderful. Now, you don't want to hear me and say, wow, Ryan said NVIDIA. That means I have to go dump my entire net worth on NVIDIA. I shared with you guys, I see, don't forget Palantir. Daniel, I totally agree with you. And the cool thing about investing is that it's almost close to an infinite landscape of opportunity out there. There's probably an equal opportunity to lose money in the stock market, depending on where your loyalty lie. I see highly on right back comment. It's been a black hole. Yeah, no kidding. It has, and that just proves out to be some of those things that I think for most people, 99% of investors really just need to put their focus where focus is necessary. And what I mean by that is buying passive investments, buying the S&P, buying a nice dividend ETF or index fund, whatever you choose. And if you're going to dabble in single stock, buy the best quality that you possibly can. That is not reflective of the best quality out there. It is indicative of how crazy things can change in the microcap space. So you just have to understand the game before you sign up for it. Understand a little bit about what you truly want out of investing. And if I can give you the secret sauce through social media, I will tell you that for most people, even if you don't realize it, are not prepared mentally to engage in that level of investing. Okay. Um, Moreover, I would suggest that most people don't need it, myself included. I don't need it. I've built up a lot of net worth for the opportunity to engage with a certain percentage of the portfolio into that speculative idea, right? But for most people, for you guys that have figured it out on the Independent Investor channel, I don't care if I have one person come in here every Friday. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. Have you noticed a digression of some of the content on the channel? Yeah, absolutely. My motivation to deliver the goods like this is most appropriately delivered on the Friday live stream, where I have a good, devout following of people who are interested in the goods. This is the stuff that can impact people to the positive. Talking about that stuff right there, I'll get 3,000 views on it, which is pretty good for my channel, and it does the most damage. Define irony. This is the stuff that the least amount of people are truly interested in really taking the time to try to understand and listen to the validation that I provide and keep coming back to this idea that this is the stuff that actually works. I tried this 5, 6 years ago. I caught a lot of scrutiny for it. There was a lot of hype going on. There was people coming onto YouTube. I sat back and watched the whole thing, throwing money at people, the more aggressive they could possibly be. This is the SPAC of the next day. This is the SPAC you got. If you just started at $10 and ride it up to $19, you can make money guaranteed every single time. Where did that end up a few short years later? Chalk it up and throw it in the basket of those fads that come and go. It's just that simple. Mark my word, it will not be the last. We will have many others. And for all intents and purpose, I'm an evolving investor, just like you guys are. The difference between me is I'm forward facing with my program because I totally understand that the baseline that I'm able to share with you guys, it absolutely provides a bedrock in the portfolio that I don't think is gonna move at all. All right, so let's get to some comments, guys. I appreciate got a pretty good gallery in here tonight. Very cool stuff. Victor's in the house. I appreciate you coming on tonight, my friend. Very cool stuff. And Chris as well. It was one of the first ones into the live stream every single week. It was very cool. I appreciate you. And Junior's in the house, man. Very cool. Roth IDA, the best retirement account, tax free. Yeah, this is one of those things that if you are going to trip and fall into investing, you really need to adhere to this idea and get those individual Roths started, start contributing up to your maximum cap, which is $6,500, I believe, for 2023. I believe that should stay the same for next year. I don't know if they're up on that. I have not seen any literature to suggest that the 2024 contributions will be increasing. Perhaps they will, but for most people, $100 a month puts you at $1,200. 250 will put you closer to that cap, but around 400, 450, $500. 500 is what it shakes out to be to get you close to that max cap. A lot of people would take some work to get them up to that $500. to get them up to max contributing one Roth IRA, let alone two. So, people have a lot of work to do, and I look to provide that challenge to people to start and engage in that program. Yeah, Brody's in the house. Happy Thanksgiving, brother. Very good. Brian's video got me to start a Roth. That is an enormous elk. Oh my God, that's just huge. Look at that thing. That's impressive. Very cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's the type of influence times whatever number of influences have over the years come into the channel and enjoyed really solid information. That's the stuff we're going to, and quite frankly, that is the sellout piece on the independent investor channel, is that we're going to continue to harp that good information, and we're going to grow together with it. There's no doubt about it. Because there's really no doubt in my mind that this is the stuff that works. Look, I'm not suggesting that people can't succeed with microcap investing, but I listen intently to the people who really, really are good and that I respect in the microcap space. And you think it takes a philosophy to win, or a psychology, or both in the application of disciplined passive investing? It takes that discipline times 100 in the microcap space. Furthermore, you can make it. I do believe that you can find those stocks. They're out there, and they have the power to change lives. But to be able to suggest to come onto a social media opportunity and go so far as to say that there's a tried and true pattern of, if you follow this pattern, you will succeed in this art. The damnable misery of it is that most people, even if they do follow this quasi-defined approach to microcap investing, will in fact fail. And that, I believe, is a little bit more closer to the truth than what people would lead you to believe, because it's amazing to me how people will come on and they'll pick fun at growth investing, or they'll pick fun at value investing, however you define that to be. Okay. But just investing in good quality passive investing can help the vast majority of people out there, where I feel microcap investing probably has the potential to negatively impact the masses out there. So you have to really, really understand your own capabilities if that's part of the game that you want to engage in over time. I would encourage you to look at it exclusively as a very, very exclusive slice to your portfolio. But in its entirety, I don't know, man. You're a bigger man or lady than me if that's your entire game. And I know people that do it, and sometimes I sit back and I'm like, God damn. Sometimes I want to just ask, like, Jesus, are you happy? Um, and they would say, yes, yes, I'm happy. I sleep well at night. And it's a ball face lie. It's like, Jesus. But my top stock this year, hands down, by far, and I don't think there's a distant second, was going long as of the beginning of November 8th, on my Aduro Clean Technology shares. That, my friends, is the investment over the last 5 years. It's going to be the top investment. It's performed really, really well in 2023. Um, in the face of what I feel like has been a very, very transformational year, I think 2024 is going to be bigger. I think we have looming information on the horizon. And I think that in the microcap space, for me, when I look over the landscape, I think that really does lend itself to interest. And like I said, when you look at the fundamentals, and I look at companies and I think, man alive, this is going to be great. The market can slap you in the face and tell you that's not what you should be looking at. And then I look at other companies where I would have never even put one red cent into that, and they skyrocket 100%. So there's only so many times when, and I have the ability to look at opportunity and say, without emotion, that's a crapshoot. Um, but I have a very, very difficult time suggesting that, and I think, and myself with others, think that we've got Aduro Clean Technologies licked. Like, there's a lot of bullish thesis behind it. If you look at their performance in the face of tumultuous small cap, micro cap markets, it has performed outstanding, no short of extraordinary. My scary question is to suggest how well it does in conducive markets, because these, my friends, have not been conducive markets. They have not been kind on the microcap market. And that's why I suggest looking back on 2023, what Aduro Clean Technologies has done with their progress as a company. But as their stock performance has reflected their progress as a company, has been very, very remarkable, even though their year-over-year gains is low double digits, right? And I do consider that to be my stock of the year. I don't need it to move very much. I own 28,000 shares of the company, so it is absolutely my holding. I'm glad that it has went long finally on all of my shares minus 500. I'm still short on those, so those would be first in, first out. I have not liquidated one single share of Aduro because I value the position that much, whether it be a $20,000 position or a $280,000 position. My thesis on Aduro does not change. They just need to avoid a buyout, which I think is going to be difficult to do. I think if they are valued more appropriately to what I think the technology as well as the opportunity, those two coupled, I think puts this company conservatively above 750 million. That's conservatively. And I say conservatively because compared to its peers valued over $1 billion with less than sufficient technology, I think you could make the argument to put Aduro in the 1 billion plus category. Right now it's trading at, 60 million US. It just does not reflect its current value, and its current value right now, it's easy a 10x from here. Easy a 10x putting it at 650 million. And I think that is just inevitable. My conviction is right on the money, but if there's anything that I've learned from 2023, none of that really matters until it happens. Can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? We'll have to wait and see. So I do caution everybody in understanding that, my march forward is going to be for the masses here. It just speaks to my independent approach to this gig. It speaks to my acknowledgement to some of the folks who have come in and they heard specific pieces of the message and look to deploy specifically some of what I have said and miss the holistic approach to what I'm trying to do from a wealth building perspective. And I think that's kind of sad, actually. All right. Very cool. Art Studios in the house, live on BLK Friday. Appreciate you, man. It is Black Friday. Cool. I bought a new belt. I treated myself. Very cool stuff, man. It's great to see you, my friend. And got Blood Phantom in the house, man. It's been a while since I've seen you, my brother. This is one of the brilliant minds on YouTube that I still hold in the highest of regards with the approach, the discipline, the technique, and it's one of those individuals that I felt like deserved minimum 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. Just a brilliant mind. I'm just glad to have him in my network and community, and I hope he considers his involvement in the Independent Investor channel just the same. I don't say that about everybody, but I hold this guy in the highest of regards, man. It's great to see him, my brother. Very cool. He leaves a comment right below. Folks would be better off listening to Ryan than Kramer. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to, these multimillionaires like Jim and like Dave Ramsey, everything that I've studied about their empires, I don't like. I think everything in way of just milling people for this money is meant to contribute to the Dave Ramsey show or the Jim Cramer show, and even by portraying an idea that somehow you can empower one investor at a time, which is my motto. He took it from me, and I don't have the money to sue him for taking my good ideas to speak to what we're trying to do here on the channel, and that's really to allow people to understand that they do have worth, They need to look at themselves as their own personal powerhouse entity. Furthermore, maybe even look at themselves as their own personal brand. Now, this is what I feel like people need to embrace with the new era. As much as I despise social media, I do think people need to look at their opportunity and look at how they carry themselves and look at their day-to-day interactions and look at their overall philosophy about life. And if you feel like you can come onto a social media opportunity like I do and share some insights, I think there's a lot of people out there like this guy, who says some things that I was like, man, that's really really sharp, and we can only find those synergies through the power of social media. And I just appreciate the hell out of this guy. It's awesome. Been a long time subscriber to the channel, and it's an open door policy with regard to his access to myself for future endeavors. That's no doubt. Make no mistake, we're looking to put something together very very special here, and I intend on doing that. We've got 5 minutes left in the show. I'll share with you guys my current initiatives over the next 5 years. Short to medium term is to monitor the real estate market, to acquire some real estate, to embolden the business. I hope 2024 is as good as 2023. It was a really good year for me. And to establish that irrevocable trust. That's really the culmination of bringing some well established assets into an investment vehicle that kind of captures everything: the insurances, the businesses, the real properties, the LLC, and really culminate that idea that I have of leaving the legacy for the kids someday. So that's the short to medium term. Other than that, we're putting our heads down on the career. We're working pretty hard right now. And we'll continue to engage with you guys in this capacity. This is what makes me happy right now. I admitted just as early today to one of my buddies that is a featured channel of the Independent Investor channel, passive income investor. You guys all know Kyle real well, but I was talking to him this morning, and I said my motivation is fairly light right now to come on and just do daily content, because if I did structural, fundamental wealth building and portfolio building and the importance of building wealth, I'd get 300 or 400 views, guys. That's not worth it for my time. And unless I have the time to commit to give YouTube what I am unwilling to give at this point, and that's daily content and just flood the subscriber base with a bunch of jargon and garbage, that of which I can cover in much more of an intimate session and a live stream, then that's what I choose to do. I do this because it feels right, and if it stops feeling right, then I'll stop doing that too. But the live stream I really enjoy, and someday we'll look to actually expand upon this product and do a little bit shorter of a live stream, a little bit more consistently than just once a week, because I'm good at it, and I like talking off the cuff. I don't script any of this stuff. I think it's super important. So very cool. Very cool. TSP's got 50-50 between the C and the S, and that's a little more aggressive than I've got. I've got 70, 20, 70, 15, and 10. 75, 15, and 10. You want to make sure I give you the correct number. So 75 in the C fund, 15 in the S fund, and 10% in the international fund. So that's what we've got. But I like your idea of just investing passively in there. Make sure that you're not tinkering with it. I think you're going to get really good performance out of that S fund. If we can come out of this stupor, I think you're going to make a pretty heavy coin on that. So just stand by for rolls, man. I appreciate you sharing anyway. Very cool stuff. This is Michael. Oh, by the way, he changed his thumbnail, man. He changed it up on me. That's awesome. I appreciate you, Michael. Thank you. Michael's been a long-standing subscriber of the channel as well, so kudos to you and happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for defining your new thumbnail with me, man. I don't know what happened, but thank you. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. In your Fidelity account, you can set up price triggers that will they will send instant messenger on your phone when stocks drop. I saw that, so pretty interactive. Verdict is out. I'm going off of multiple recommendations to Mitridate, so I'm very hesitant. For it's me, it feels kind of weird to be uprooting from a bank that I've been with a while. I know I shouldn't feel like that, but it's a pain in the ass to have to uproot. And I've been with them for a long, long time, but I just cannot continue to give away that much money and free money and trying to generate money from the stock market. I think I'm owed a lot more than what I'm being paid on my idle cash. I tail into 2020, and all of 2020 was pump and dump on shitty stocks. Glad you stayed true to your fundamentals. Oh, I don't know if I'd go that. I shifted a little bit away from my fundamentals, if I'm being fair and critical, to be honest. You guys have learned to appreciate my honesty throughout the course of the channel, and certainly live some of the mistakes and evolution of the learnings. I'm steadfast in really consolidating the approach. And it's something that I've taught upon through the course of the channel. If you can just pick that strategy, pick that philosophy throughout the course of your entire life and not deviate, no matter what. And I tell you what, that was pretty tempting throughout that time to get a little bit misconstrued by that whole thing. And at the time, I wasn't speaking up. I was going right along with the ride because there was a lot of money being made. Hell, I made a lot. I made six figures in 2020 swing trading the market. But I did it swing trading quality stocks. I really never got caught up. I made, a little bit of money with the SPAC craze and, the whole idea that a company is automatically worth $10 a share. Now all of them are worth below $1. They're all penny stocks. They're all just garbage. And some of them are doing some really good things, but they've got such a tarnished reputation. I don't know if they'll ever come back. And the verdict is still out. What is the lesson in all of it? The lesson is to do as you speak, and to really kind of right the ship a little bit, and that's what I plan on doing. And for those of you who appreciate it, that's great. For those of you who don't appreciate it, they've already unsubscribed from the channel, and that's totally fine too. I want to earn your subscription. I don't want you to come into the channel because you feel obligated to it. Even though I do contend that the stuff that's being put down it's worth it. I really feel like I drive toward being the recipient of the message. And I think if I'm in my best element, I'm really talking about those things that people can sit across from me and understand. Hold on a second. This guy said he was going to charge me for hitting the subscribe button. But if I do start an account here, if I do invest in ETF, or if I do engage in a broker that is free of charge, most of this just is personal initiative that I'm going to deploy that can really set myself apart here. And I think the idea of people taking control of their own money is really, really attractive, and quite frankly, very, very addictive for a lot of people. And I just assume you get addicted to the idea of taking control of your own money. Win, lose, or draw, I think it's important. Agree with you on 100%. Keep blessings in these golden nuggets, man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on, man. Very cool stuff. We got a couple more comments here. Join your channel soon. Love to have you on, brother. It's an open door policy, man. I'd love to have you on, Alex. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's kind of a blast from the past. Kind of made my evening seeing you, and I hope all's well with you, man. Changing the world with your technology. I thought you were into software development, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But I know you're one of those career guys too, which I really like. I like this young community, man, that this young generation that we have coming up. I'm not part of it anymore, okay? But I do notice some things about the new generation. I'm scrutinizing of it, but I'm also very complimentary because there's some brilliant folks coming up through. And I think this stuff, this methodology that I teach upon can really be looked upon, and I think it can be gotten really, really quick by this new generation. I think they can really get this stuff dialed in, and then they can focus on all this other stuff, right? That they need to be focused on in their life to actually build some wealth. I think it's super, super awesome. Very cool stuff. We got Victor in the house watching with the fam, loving the stream. Shout out to the Hernandez family. Fantastic. Sorry you get a ninth inning call out. Hell, if you would have posted that on the top, I would have given the Hernandez family a call out in the first inning, right? I wouldn't have waited for Harry Carey to sing the Take Me Out to the Ball Game. I mean, you guys are kind of in the nosebleed seats at this point, right? But 24 strong, man, sticking in the live stream with me. That's the type of devotion that I really, really appreciate. And quite frankly, I'm very thankful for with the community that we've built up over time. He says, great stream, enjoyed the chat, fantastic at the thresholds of wealth. Just an idea amongst many that we talk about on the channel here. Really appreciate you guys tuning in for the fastest 60 minutes. We will, in fact, be throwing down next week on the Independent Investor Channel live stream. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the holiday weekend. Enjoy your time. We'll catch you next week.